Well, hi everybody. I thought you would be pretty grateful and would like to know what some of the past students have done for Project 1. So I brought some examples and I'm going to show those to you and talk about the process of that project. It starts with research, which some of you have already done. I looked online and many of you have looked into where our 26 characters came from. Some of you had some unusual information that really wasn't relative, so you may want to review what some of your peers have. 26 characters that we came from didn't come from cave paintings. That is the history of man, but it's not the history of our 26 characters as we know them today. So I know it does start with drawings, it does start with symbols, but this is more specific to the cradle of civilization, which would have been Phoenician, the Phoenician culture. Modern day Lebanon actually is where Phoenicia was, in case you want to know a little bit about that geography. Let's just kind of cut to Project 1. I cut some things out, so hopefully I won't show you things that don't relate. I've reduced the amount of work on this project, so yay! First, it takes research. I have a student who wanted to do some pictographs, a pictograph of a rock. Keep in mind, a pictograph is something you can actually touch, something tangible. And an ideograph is something, think about it being an idea. An ideograph is something you cannot touch physically. Pictograph can also be something that touches you. So even though we may not be able to see the wind, we can feel it. But an ideograph is something non-tangible, non-touchable, such as passion, love, engagement, intelligence. Those are all things that we could combine a couple of pictographs to then represent an idea. I'll show you some pretty good examples. Hopefully you'll agree. First, I had a student who wanted to draw a rock. Sounds pretty boring, but so they had researched visually a few different pictures of rocks. Now, we don't usually use, that's not a rock, by the way, that's a wave. We don't typically want to use something that's already drawn to draw from, so she was also drawing a wave, but we have another picture of a wave. This person actually grabbed a picture of a rock, something that felt very solid and rock-like, and she used this as photographic reference. I prefer you use photographic reference as to illustrated reference because of copyright infringement. So we have a rock. She's also studied and printed out a picture of a wave, among other images. And she was even researching some of the Greek and Phoenician articles, artifacts in regards to ancient writings, because she wanted to study up on those. Those are not necessarily required for the project, but it's nice to know where some of this stuff came from. So we start with sketching. Let me find her sketches real quick. Typically, we want to kind of stay a little bit organized when it comes to sketching. Organized as in, see how organized this person was. It's typically a good idea, I don't have the rock yet, to do your sketches on tracing paper. Piece of white paper behind this so you can see it a little bit better. And here's an example of this person's interpretation. 5 different sketches of a boat or a ship. And I assume the reason why they chose this is because they were studying ancient languages like the Phoenicians and the Greek, and the Phoenicians were seafaring people. They were basically historically speaking, the World Trade Center of their day. So there was a lot of trade going on between Greeks and other cultures and the Phoenicians. But these are all examples of sketches that she had done, I believe this is a she, in regards to a boat. You'll notice how really simplified they are. This student was paying respect to the fact that letters are outcroppings of simplified forms, simplified pictographs. So she was trying to use as few strokes as possible and yet still try to maintain the look of a boat. So we actually, this is more of an in-class thing that we got to do, but we'll do this online. We voted as a group which sketch we thought worked the best, and then she developed it further. So here's sketches of the boat. 5 sketches. You're supposed to do 5 sketches per pictograph and 5 sketches per ideograph. Your ideographs are a combination of 2 of your pictographs. It's kind of cheating, but who's to know? Some people think backwards. They think, oh, I can combine these 2 things. Let's say rock and sun. I combine those 2, and that means baked or baking. So some people will try to think this through before they really start putting a lot of work into drawing the symbols. Now here's the next set of sketches regarding the pictograph. You can see she started out with these 5 sketches for rock, and then what happens is when we go through critique, we make suggestions to make things feel visually maybe more appropriate. So these were possibly going to be misinterpreted as something else, like a helmet or a hill or whatever. So we decided to give critique visually. Sometimes we just have to draw it and spell it out for folks. We are visual people, that's fine. You can sketch something and send it to somebody, photograph it or scan it. But this is where things actually started to develop. We decided that the rock should be a little bit more jagged. So you'll see that the rock went from a really smooth type of a river pebble or river stone to more of a jagged, harder looking surface, rougher looking surface. Now, you guys are doing 5 total pictographs, I think. I'll have to look at the assignment. I don't want to mess you up there. But you're doing a number of pictographs. I'm going to open up my Word document and just double check. Don't want to misspeak. So I'm getting a download error. Maybe you did too. But I do have a rich text document, so hopefully it'll open. Well, I'm having errors. If you're having errors and I'm having errors, you need to definitely let me know so I can send me a message through Blackboard so that I can fix these issues. Sometimes I'll upload content and it just won't open. Now it's opening once I download it. It just wouldn't open through the internet. Okay, so we're doing 5 pictographs and 2 ideographs. But we're not doing, if you've heard of other people taking this class, we were doing our names in Phoenician and our names in Greek. We're not doing that anymore. I tried to simplify things a little bit for the online environment. And the feedback I've gotten over the semesters from students say they kind of like that, but it's really, in retrospect, not as important maybe as creating symbols. Now here is the example. Here are the examples of waves that this person had sketched out. You will see some resemblance to the research of an already developed pictograph. That's not really what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see how you interpret it on your own. So these should be original. So a photographic reference again, such as a picture of a wave. Now, these are black and white for a reason. You don't want to pay a lot of extra money for your color printing because this is a black and white project. And also I have some tips and tricks I can teach you about how to draw or trace, basically, if you are not somebody who claims that they can draw. But I'll teach you some great tracing techniques, some great industry secrets, so to speak. So here are the waves, and you can see that of all the 5 waves, this one got the most votes. So we literally would write on the sketches with pencil, hey, this is the one we like the most, and a couple people voted for some other ones. So fairly organized sketches, 5 sketches of 1 object per page. Okay? And you notice there's not a lot of lines or anything. You could, I suppose, separate them by lines, but you don't want to really crowd them. You want to give them some space. These symbols are meant to be seen kind of by themselves. So try not to crowd your sketches. Try not to make them so small. And also it's best that once you do them in pencil, you go ahead and go over them with your Sharpie, okay? Because these symbols are meant to be bold and strong. And when you go to photograph them or scan them in and upload them on Blackboard, if they're in pencil, we can't see them very well. These need to be definitive marks. So use your Sharpies to go over your pencil sketches before you scan them in or photograph them and send them through Blackboard. Okay. So here's our next pictograph. Now you don't want to do the same things that I'm showing, so please be creative and inventive, and make sure you're choosing things that have, choose objects that have, I don't know, just a good shape to them. A lot of people want to do their iPhones, but it's like, well, that's just such a flat shape. It's too easily misinterpreted as another object. So just keep in mind that the shape should be interesting and distinct, being able to distinguish them from another shape. So please use something that's distinctive. iPhones and things like that are a little, well, they're not so distinctive. They're just rectangles. Here's a shaft of wheat, drawn 5 different ways, or sketched 5 different ways. Again, started in pencil, then she went over in Sharpie. And then we have the pictograph of music. Now this is interesting because, yes, you can hear music. Technically, I suppose you could touch a music sheet. But music is actually an idea. It's a concept. Whereas a musical instrument, such as my ukulele back here, it is an object I can touch. I can create music with it. But music is an overall concept. So this is not really a pictograph, a term to use for a pictograph. Music would be a combination of maybe a guitar or a drum or something, or a couple of different instruments. Maybe we combine them pictographically, 2 different instruments, and we just say that's music. But this is really not a pictograph, music. Basically, this would be an ideograph. Okay, so these are 5 different sketches of what she is translating in her mind as music. But we really, you won't see this come to fruition in the finished result. Then we're going to move to the ideographs. Now these are really challenging for folks who, they're just challenging for some folks. Basically what I'm not looking for is, I'm not looking for you to plunk one symbol over another and call it, a beautiful piece of, pictographic or ideographic work. What you want to try to do is you want to try to get the 2 pictographs that you combine. So in this case, her ideograph is voyage. You can't touch voyage. It's a concept. Voyage or journey. She's combining water and the boat, which makes sense. But she's doing them in a way where, especially in this particular ideograph sketch, she's doing them in a way where they create a symbiotic relationship, meaning that one would not look great without the other. They tend to meld together. What I do is I look at the lines I've drawn and I see what kind of lines each pictograph has in common, and I try to take advantage of that. So I take shared likenesses and I put them together when I do this kind of thing. So here's her combination of boat and water, a very natural combination. A lot of these combinations for ideographs are not very natural, so you have to really force it. Here are, let's see, what's this? Here is a pictograph, or excuse me, an ideograph combining rock and wheat shaft, and this was to represent the idea of milling or grinding.